Hi guys, Philip Good here. I am a relationship coach and an abuse recovery specialist. This video is a continuation of my book, Ignited by the Bottle, Delivered by the Fist. And this is chapter 3, video 4. And the title of this chapter is Dad, Why Don't You Love Me? Interesting title, isn't it? And you think that would be a given, like a kid. I was first born of 6 children. You think that would be a given, unconditional love and all that sort of thing. But between myself and my dad, I never felt the love. I never felt the love my whole life. And I'm 72 now. My father died when I was about 54. And like I've said before, my grandfather, my dad's father, lived with us until I was 11 when he passed away. But I always felt the love from him to me. I spent a lot of time with him. And that's what my dad didn't do with me or any of my brothers or siblings. Actually spent a lot of time with them. And time, guess what? Time is love. But over the years, and looking back, being 72 now, looking back at my father and his life and stuff, like I said in previous video, my father had issues with his mum, unresolved issues. And, my grandmother, his mum, allegedly had a short fuse and would give him a hiding, and my dad would go running to his father, my grandfather, who lived with us. And so there's real issues between my dad and his mother, unresolved issues, and also a lack of forgiveness from my dad towards his mum. With a lack of understanding that obviously my grandmother had issues with maybe her father or mother, and then down the next generation, going way back, and just passed down through the generations. But I came to realize a lot later in years, of course, when I back analyzed, and as you do, and being the firstborn of 6 kids, like I saw everything with my parents, right? Everything that went on. A lot of my siblings didn't see a lot. And because of all the arguments and fights and that, I was always there in amongst it all, and quite often putting my 5 cents worth in to take the argument away from my mum onto me. So I'd take the punches so she didn't have to. That's what my purpose always was. So I didn't care about getting punched myself. It literally had no effect on me at all. But so I come to realize that the reason my father really couldn't love me is because he didn't love himself. To love yourself, first of all, it starts off with forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself, the issue with your childhood is not your fault. It's a parent's fault. The parents are in control, or you should be in control, but in many cases, the parents are out of control. And so it was with his mum, and so it was passed down to my dad. He ended up getting out of control in so many different fights and arguments and that, and literally could not control himself. He had never learned self-control, and he didn't forgive his mum or himself. So that was the thing, and so I realized that I thought, that, oh wow. So I asked a question myself. So, like, not only how do I get my father to love me, but how do I get my father to actually like me? Liking, not just loving. Liking first. So therefore, I set about doing everything well academically. When I was 8 years old, I knew all my times table off by heart. So I was taken out in front of the class, an example, the rest of the class, how well you've got to learn your times table off by heart. And so academically, when I was 11 years old, I came home with a report. This is in Standard 4 at Birkenhead Primary School in the North Shore of Auckland. At the end of the year, I came home with a report card that had 11 ones, the top mark in every subject of 11 subjects. Because what I was trying to do was obviously trying to win, particularly win my dad's love. My mum's love was assured too, but My mum had 4 kids under 5, so she was a busy lady with no help from my father. So time spent with individual kids, particularly the older kids, was scarce because she was busy with the younger ones, and fair call, and no help from my dad ever with any of us kids or any of the housework. My mum had it all on her plate, and that was the case right through until I was 18 when I left home. So anyway, I came home with that report card, 11 ones, top marks in 11 subjects. I was athletically, I was the fastest in the school. When I was 11 the last year of Standard 4 and last year at school, I was the fastest in the school, and I was the fastest in my form every year. So I was trying to prove myself athletically. And then playing rugby league. I started playing rugby league when I was 6 years old. And I got into Auckland reps. I played 7-a-side, 10-a-side reps. So I pretty much tried to do everything well. Like every season I played rugby league, I scored at least more than 100 points in a season. So I'd get a 100 points badge, right? I never ever missed it. All the years that I played rugby league and rugby, from the time I was 6 until the time I stopped when I was about 23, because I was dairy farming, so I wasn't able to continue on playing rugby or rugby league. But every year that I played, in every game, obviously it's a contact sport and there's a lot of tackling involved, and I could learn how to tackle real hard. My father was a really tough man, so he taught me how to use my shoulders, and man, I could tackle real hard. I was a guy playing weight, 75, 76 kilos, not even up to 80 kilos, probably late 70s. But I'll tackle guys 100 kilos or more and tackle them really hard because I had no fear of being hurt. But anyway, get back to the story. I tried to do everything well, trying to earn my father's love. Like I said, 100 points in a season, scoring tries, and never missing a tackle. And when I started playing rugby league, my uncle, my father's sister's husband, elder sister's husband, Uncle Alec, he coached me in rugby league. And we pretty much won every game and won the championship and knockout each season. I think there's only one game we lost. And a lot of tackles, because I couldn't trust other members of my team, I couldn't tackle low often. I had to tackle high so I could go on and tackle the next person, because I couldn't rely on my fellow players to make the tackles. And I remember one time we were playing against a really good team in a match, and I had to go low with this guy, tackle him low, and I tackled him down, but he actually managed to pass the ball out, and they scored a try. And that particular game was a very close game. They won. The other team won 3-0. 1 try to 0. And of course, my uncle blamed me. It was my fault because I missed that tackle. But how could I? Because I was on the ground. Right? So, but anyway, and my father was, like I was saying before, was a real hard man, a real tough man. And I never, if I got hurt in a tackle, I never came off the field. Because he would go, if he was there watching the match, which he did some coaching himself, so he wasn't always there watching. But if he was, and if I get hit hard and hurt, I'd never let on that I was hurt. So I never ever come off the field. And I remember only the once in my whole playing career did I ever come off the field. And that's when I was playing first 15 at Westlake Boys High School in a preseason game. And anyway, I went down in a ruck and I got booted in the knee and I was limping. I couldn't run. And I usually played either centre or wing, depending on the team I was in, because I was usually the fastest in the team. I was a 100-meter sprinter and that, so. But anyway, this particular time I had to come off and my father was there watching and he was laughing at me coming off with a crooked knee that I couldn't stay on the field. So it was the only time I ever come off in my life. But so But I realized, but I thought that maybe if I could do well enough in running, athletic, well enough in rugby league, well enough academically, that maybe I'd somehow win my father's love. But it wasn't the case. It never happened. And so what did I do? I fought back. I became more argumentative. I used to stick up with my mother and knew how to press my father's buttons. So quite often the punches would come to me. And I can remember once that one particular issue was he told me to go to my room after me getting involved in mum and dad's arguments and stuff as I did. And he came into the bedroom and he literally punched me down once onto my bed and got up, punched me down again. Did that 6 times. And what I said to him was, and I used to always say to him when he knocked me down, I'd say to him, you have your go now, mate, because one day when I'm big, I'm going to do you. Bang, I get knocked down again. But in my mind, it was always, I'll always get back up. The only time I won't get back up is if you knock me out. So this particular night, after he knocked me down 6 times, he looked into my eyes and I had the most hate-filled stare that I could muster up, looking at him straight in the eye. Never one tear in my eye, never cried once. In my whole life, all the times I knocked down, I never cried once in my life. I always got up. If I was able to get up, I got up, I stared him straight in the eye. I say to him more than one occasion, you have your go now, mate, because one day when I'm bigger, I'm going to do you, and usually I get knocked down again. But you know what? All the times I was knocked down, and there were many, many, many times, more times than I could ever count, I never felt any pain. I never felt any pain. I never cried a tear. I just looked at my father right straight in the eye. And you know how we have adrenaline in our bodies, and quite often we have adrenaline. The adrenaline takes away the pain. Often, in my case, it did. It sort of took away the pain, or if you like, it was obviously, part of the mission of my life was to go through this horrific process, and so that I could come through at the end, and in my adult life to change how I acted and operated, and all the learnings that I went through later in my teenage years and into my early 20s. But yeah, it was like the adrenaline thing, like I said before, just takes away, and it takes away the pain. So I couldn't feel anything. But that's what I realized was that later, that's highly dangerous. If you consider that it was God taking away the pain, so I couldn't feel the pain of all the hits that I received. But when you can't feel anything, you literally cannot feel anything. So to be human, it's about feelings and emotions. So I got to the point, even before our teenage years, where I couldn't feel anything when I got punched, which is highly dangerous, particularly as you get older into your mid to late teens and so on. Because if you can't feel anything, you sort of almost become like an animal rather than a human. Right? Because you can't feel your emotions. Well, the emotion that I felt most was when I looked at my father was hate. It was anger, rage, if you like. But in the late teenage years, I had an instance where, I changed my life, but I'll explain that into a later chapter. But this the point of this video, though, is to prove that that all I was trying to do was trying to work out how I could earn my father's love. I understand, later now as a father and grandfather that love doesn't have to be earned from your child. It's just unconditionally given from a parent to a child. You just unconditionally love your child, or should. So why didn't my father unconditionally love me and my siblings? And it wasn't until a lot of years later, as I become an adult, married, had children myself, then I'd back analyze my life, my childhood, and so on, and I realized, well, it was obviously because he didn't love himself, because he never forgiven his mother or himself, and so therefore if he couldn't love himself, how could he love anyone else? How could he love my mother? How could he love me or my siblings, his children? So, yeah, so the thing, I guess I used to think, the real reason he married my mother was obviously for sex. But he married my mother as almost like a mother figure, the mother figure that he wished he could have had but didn't. And so my mother was almost like, in a sense, like his mother. He married her, but it was almost like he wanted her as his mother, right? So it felt, as a kid growing up, I felt like I was in competition. I felt as a kid, I was in competition with my father for my mother's love. And he got jealous of us kids. Like my mother, for instance, would serve us up our dinner first. And we were young, we were going to school and so on. And then he got served after us kids, 2, 3, 4 kids. He got served after us. And then so when we get older into early teens, that we'd be growing boys, so quite often go back for seconds, and I could feel that he was really jealous of that, right? So which I thought was highly unusual, but yeah, so it's like he married my mum for the mother figure that he never had, and he considered sex to be love, but it's not. Sex is an act; it's a release. But love is a feeling. Love is a feeling, and you either feel it or you don't. And I never did as far as my father went. I did as far as my grandfather went. My grandpa could. My dad's father, I certainly felt the love from him. I mean, he would never come and say, "I love you, Phil," or "I love you" to my siblings, but you just knew that he loved you. You just felt it. But just before I end this video, I'll just share a story about a lesson I learned about lying, just to finish off this chapter. So I think I was in about standard 2, standard 3. I would have been 9 or 10 at the time. And anyway, three girls. I had a friend, a boy, friend of mine in class, and his name was Clyde. And we together decided to take 3 girls up into the bush where we used to go. Well, I used to go with my brothers. We used to go trapping possums with gin traps and stuff. Anyway, we went for a walk in the bush, and I can remember some of the names of these girls, but one was Judy, one was Raywin, one was Tony, and not sure about any other. Not sure whether Rosemary was there, but anyway, those 3 girls. Anyway, we took them there, and the Judy said to Raywin, "I'm not going to go any further until Phil gives me a kiss." So I gave her a kiss, and that was fine before we went any further. And I think the following weekend we went up to a council paddock just up the road from where we lived. 3 girls, my friend Clyde and myself. And there was a strawberry patch up there. And a chap called Neville owned leased the land from the council and grew strawberries there as a commercial operation. So anyway, in this council paddock, there was a little old shed with hay in it, right? So we were rolling around in the hay with the girls, myself and Clyde and stuff, and having a merry old time, 9 or 10 years of age, and thinking we were pretty cool. And then we decided, we'll go down and climb over the fence and get some strawberries, because strawberries were ripe at the time, right? So anyway, climbed over the fence and we were having a few big fat strawberries, and all of a sudden we heard this voice yell out, "Hey, get out of there!" So, oh my God. And that was this guy, Neville, and the owner, the operator of the strawberry patch. He was yelling out and shaking his fist and stuff, get out of there, stop stealing the strawberries and all the rest of it. And, so it was quite a distance away. So I scaled the fence and I was sprinting down the road, right back home, right? And anyway, the next day or next night, my father got a call from this chap, Nev, to say, I had some kids climbing a fence stealing my strawberries. And so he told the old man, and so the old man come to me, and what he said to the old man was, he said, at the speed of the person who was the kid that was the boy that was out the front, he said he was sprinting like really fast. He left the others for dead and stuff. So I thought maybe it was your son because he was that fast. So anyway, so the old man, he confronted me. He said, were you up at Neville's strawberry patch stealing strawberries? And before I could answer, he said, before you give me an answer, so I want to tell you one thing. He said, I hate liars. So I thought about that for an instant, and I thought, So I come clean and said, yes, it was me. And he said, okay. Well, he said, on Saturday, we're going to march up. I'm going to take you up there, and you can apologise to Neville right to his face to face. That's what you're going to do. So that's what I did. So that was my first learning about stealing and the implications of lying. Had I lied, if I had lied and knew I was lying, I would have got a hiding. But because I told the truth and owned up to it, I didn't get a hiding that day. Most days I would. But anyway, that was my lesson on lying. So with that, guys, I'll leave with you. But yeah, so that was, but just before I leave this chapter, I'll finish off by saying the issue about my father not loving me, not feeling the love from my father, was an issue that stayed with me my whole life. When I was about 47, my son would have been 19. It was on our dairy farm in Whangarei, New Zealand, northern New Zealand. And there was an issue going on in the family, something my father did and whatever. And anyway, I broke down to my son. I broke down to him and I said, why did my father never love me? Why wasn't I good enough to be loved? I just broke down and cried. And my son hugged me, held me. And, if I think about it now, I'm older and wiser now, and I realize how important that is, And I'm so grateful that I had 4 children that I was able to unconditionally love, and it's a mutual thing between them and myself, my wife as well. Have that unconditional loving relationship with my wife for 48 years. It is so, so important. A kid does not have to do anything for you to love them. It's just like when a baby is born for the first time. You see your newborn baby. You just have that outpouring of unconditional love. And as a parent, you never lose that. You always think of your child. I mean, my children now my eldest daughter's going to be 48 this year. But I can still think of her as that little baby. I still love her unconditionally as I do my other 3 kids. Unconditionally, just the same. Always and forever. My wife the same. Right from the word go. Every day over a 48 years relationship, 48 and a half almost now. I've loved her unconditionally every day of our married life. She doesn't have to do anything or have anything. I just love her for the being that she is, the amazing being she is, the amazing human being she is. That's enough. And I do that, and she gives it back to me, backwards and forwards, always. Best friends, team, trust, unconditional love, respect, care, deep care. I've been my wife because of injuries she had back in 2014. It's now 2025, for 11 years. I've been her caregiver because of a bad injury she had, and all the medication she now takes. Our web's back full of medication. I do it willingly because I love her so much. I said to her, I not only unconditionally love you and always have in this life, but I'll continue loving you beyond this life when we pass on to the spirit world. If I pass over first, I'll be waiting for you. And I jokingly said to her, I'll be waiting there with a horse. I love horses, right? I'll have a horse waiting for you, love, when you pass over. If I pass over first, but I always love you, and we'll go flying together in the spirit world. We'll always be joined. We'll always be together, loving each other unconditionally. Love you guys. I love you and leave you. Bye for now.